Hello everyone, here's another video on the channel. Today's topic is, why are modern women depressed and anxious? This is yet another topic where, if you try to look for the causes using search engines like Google, watch news reports, or check out stories from mainstream media, especially programs from Globo, but even on cable channels, you won't find the real answer to the problem, okay? Because the real answer to the problem is something very politically incorrect. It can't be said. So some so-called experts, psychologists, writers, and the mainstream media as a whole will blame abstract factors. For example, capitalism, superficial relationships, work hours. Not that these things don't play a part in this anxiety and in women's depression, but if you look at women's behavior in recent times, especially over the last 6 or 7 years, right? You'll see that this alone doesn't explain it, right? After all, some of these supposed culprits have been part of women's lives for a long time. Women have been in the workforce for a long time, right? Capitalism has also been the prevailing economic system for a long time now, right? Motherhood too. Women used to have many more children in the past and weren't as depressed as they are today, even though motherhood is often blamed as one of the causes. The issue of the economy, the loss of purchasing power of the currency, inflation. We've already had periods like this in Brazil, times of crisis just like we're experiencing now, even though this one might actually be the worst. But that alone doesn't explain the problem. From the moment society has girls 14, 16, 18, 20 years old stuffing themselves with antidepressants, going to therapy. I'm not criticizing anyone who goes to therapy. In fact, I think it really helps in some cases. Psychiatric treatments, taking anti-anxiety medication, women in 20s, 25 years old, at the peak of youth, beauty, and fertility. I think you have to be really naive to believe in the reasons those cliché best-selling books talk about regarding anxiety and all that, like people are addicted to information and whatever. The problem with this kind of cause and effect that people believe in is that they're not 100% false, you know? But an even bigger problem is that they don't explain the real issue, right? So you're going to base your understanding of why women are depressed and anxious, especially women of this generation, mainly those born in the 1990s, on these more cliché reasons. You're not going to grasp the whole problem. Even though there's some truth to it, right? It's not just what I'm going to say here that's true, you know. The thing is, whether it's me, or Hawken, or Uncle Megita, Bruno from Social Arts, Miguel from Attitude Alpha, and so on, right? Monero from K.A. Avita, which is also a great channel I discovered recently, you know? And others out there who have been producing content along these lines about the coming collapse of the hypergamous, misandrous bubble, right? All of us, and the many others who follow these channels and comment, these subscribers, they've realized that the problem isn't just what they say on shows like Fantastico and Fatima Bernardes, right? It's not just what Leandro Carnal and Augusto Curry say it is, what causes anxiety, or what Cortella claims is the truth, right? These guys, yeah, they actually know a thing or two, right? They've studied this stuff and all that, and they point out some causes for it. But you can see it's all very generic, right? So why is that? I actually believe these guys know a lot of what we're talking about here, but obviously they're not going to say it because they have to stick to being politically correct, right? They can't just come out and say, look, a woman, modern women are sad because they're dreaming of a rich husband who's never going to show up, you know? If someone like Leandro Carnal says that, for example, on CNN, the next day he's canceled by the entire internet, you get it? But he knows that's true, right? You know what I mean? He just puts on that act, has his whole persona and everything, and some people think he's dumb, but actually, he's not, right? He just joined this politically correct game, right? Pond is a bit harsher, but even so. He has the same problem as all these guys I'm talking about. They're boomers. So, just like Hawken, I don't trust the baby boomer generation, whether they're politicians, doctors, psychologists, lawyers, whatever. It's a generation that wrecked everything and only handed us the trash. A broken economy, a collapsed country, a screwed up social security system. So I don't trust these people who were born between 1946 and 1964, right? This baby boomer generation just isn't trustworthy, is it? So, I think there's Generation Y, which I belong to, and most of the big YouTubers on this topic, and on the topics we talk about here on the channel, also belong to, except for Uncle Miguel, who's actually a great example of someone I recommend you subscribe to his channel. You will see that Generation Y is much more tuned in to this stuff, especially because the women we're talking about here, right? Women from the 90s, and some videos from the 80s, but the main focus is that the 90s are our generation. And you can see that the reason they're all anxious, all depressed, is exactly because of this endless desire for continuity, right? It's the classic carrot on a stick. What did Instagram do to women? Instagram put a huge carrot on a stick in front of them, and they're believing it, like, oh, in the end, everything will work out, you know? Oh, if it doesn't, it work out now, because it's not the end yet, right? And women are chasing after that. And the more you chase after what you want, but never actually get it, and you keep imagining a perfect future, this happens a lot with men when it comes to money, right? This happens even more with men when it comes to money. There aren't men out there wanting a perfect future just to have a dream relationship or marriage. You won't find men romanticizing about that, right? Not men, though. Men dream. Guys want to get rich. So they keep thinking that, in the end, they'll get rich somehow. And that ends up making guys depressed and anxious too. But that's a topic for another video. The focus here now is on female depression and anxiety. So if you have a huge crowd of women believing in this it's never too late idea, and that everything will work out in the end. And we know it only takes 2 brain cells to realize that things will only work out for maybe 1, 2, or 3% of women at most. That dream life she's dreaming of. Exactly because the math doesn't add up, which we've already talked about in previous topics, you end up creating a zombified society, right? You create a society of women who are constantly waiting for that dream notification on Instagram, always hoping that something mystical will happen, that the universe, women love to say the universe sends signs, that the universe will send them some kind of sign, that some magic will happen, right? And it's not happening, and it's not going to happen, okay? It's not going to happen, okay? So, if any woman happens to stumble in here and is still deluded about the dream husband, the dream wedding, my condolences, okay? Anyway, I generalize because when the odds of something happening are like winning the lottery, then we can say it without fear of being wrong, right? Because what you all are waiting for is not going to happen, okay? We have to be really honest here, right? So that there isn't. So that this kind of illusion gets cut off. Women from the 2010 generation, kids today, 10 or 11, will wake up learning from errors of women from the 90s generation. The 2000s are heading in the same direction. Generation 2000s, as remote as it may be, still has some chance of saving itself, even though I don't really believe it. But the women from the 1990s, that's just how it is. They're already going now. A lot of them are already out there, in the pre-Bossaquismo phase. Bossaquismo, for those who don't know, in case someone just stumbled in here by accident as well. Yeah, Honoré de Balzac, one of the greatest French writers, a French novelist, a truly amazing French author who wrote several, dozens of books about French society after the Revolution at the height of Napoleon's era. And his most iconic book is called A Woman of 30, which tells the story of Julie, a French woman who is always kind of depressed, became a widow and all that, reflecting on what it means to be a woman. So, the term Balzacian comes into play when a woman is reaching 30 and is still single, even though Julie was a widow. She had at least been married. Nowadays, there are so many women approaching 30 who don't even have a boyfriend yet, but are still dreaming of motherhood, the perfect wedding, and wanting everything at once. college, a PhD, traveling the world, perfect photos, and who knows what else. It's such a disconnect from reality that it's almost ridiculous, you know? It's like that scene from the movie. Like in The Big Short, you see the economy, the world is collapsing, and these women are living as if they're in an Enya music video, right? It's a bizarre thing, isn't it? So, the real cause of female depression and anxiety is exactly this desire for continuity, you know? That in the end, everything will work out. So, women often confuse guys who go after them just because they want to have sex, or guys with very low value in the sexual marketplace who keep flattering them for a point, for some value. Women get really confused about their real value, their sexual market value. So usually, a woman who's a 6 thinks she's a 9, you know? There's a huge distortion there, right? It's even more inflationary in this sexual marketplace than those crazy economies we live in, with money being printed without any gold backing, right? So it gets almost comical, because depression and anxiety are really serious topics, guys. They're things that really need to be addressed and studied. But from the moment that only people operating more in the underground, on YouTube, on the more discreet channels, really know the deal, know the cause, doesn't it make you wonder if in the United States people are already talking about this? That it's actually Instagram and the pursuit of a perfect life that's made women like this, right? Here in Brazil, no, they still say it's as if men are the ones with the same desire to have the perfect couple's life that women have, right? And we know that's not true, right? Like I said, men's desires are much more focused on getting as many casual sexual encounters as possible and making money, right? Even though there might come a time when a guy meets an exceptional woman, but that's a topic for another time, okay? So folks, when it comes to depression and anxiety, you're never really going to hear anyone talk about the real reason, okay? And the real reason is everything we've talked about here so far. An endless desire for something that's never going to happen. It's like that poem by Manuel Bandeira, A Whole Life That Could Have Been and Wasn't. Women are dreaming. Funny thing is, the more people say that women don't have to be Disney princesses or anything like that, the more. The current narrative, the prevailing discourse is anti-femininity, anti-princess, that women should be whatever they want, but they keep dreaming of a princess life. So feminism is really dumb in that regard. Pont says something that's true. Feminists don't understand women. They really don't understand women. That's why a lot of women leave feminism. And a lot of women never even got into feminism in the first place. Even if they have some subconscious feminism there, they just can't. Thank you. To embrace the movement. But anyway, it's not just feminist women or left-wing women who are dealing with depression and anxiety, okay? In evangelical, Catholic, and even Bolsonaro-supporting circles, there are plenty of women going through the same thing, because hypergamy is everywhere, okay? Hypergamy isn't just for women who show their butts on Instagram, alright? In right-wing circles and all that, I know these people very well, okay? Everyone just wants the congressman, the famous YouTuber, the famous pastor, right? It's always the guy who's the most prominent, okay? Hypergamy is present in all circles, regardless of the political spectrum, alright? In fact, the fifth wave of feminism is a really interesting topic, and I'm going to make a video about it, because there's a lot to talk about. So to wrap up this video, right? If you start coming across women who are constantly, especially on Sundays, Sunday is like a magical day for women, posting reflections, women who suddenly become evangelical, women who out of nowhere start posting about Orientalism or even Hinduism, it's because depression and anxiety are already hitting, because the woman thinks that by posting this stuff, some high-value man will think, wow, she's alternative, wow, she's smart, wow, she talks about the universe, about mental connections, she talks about energy, she talks about all that, right? And honestly, guys see this and think it's a load of absolute nonsense, okay? That's the truth, really. Men just laugh at it, just like women laugh at men who aren't worth anything. Men are also laughing a lot at this female desperation, you know? This search for. It's the search for the ideal partner, right? For the perfect relationship. So you see this huge increase, right? In this kind of thing, women doing photo shoots after 35. Seriously, these are women who are desperate, you know? So they're sending the goalie up, like we say, right? Like those teams that are losing in the 47th minute of the second half in a knockout game. It has to be a corner kick, man. Even the goalie goes up. They're going all in. Okay? So, like, desperation is very much connected to depression and anxiety, okay? So, girls out there taking anti-anxiety meds, antidepressants, posting about life, about God, the universe, the zodiac, all that stuff, right? It all points to an endless desperation, you know? And the Holocaust of the single women is no longer just a theory. It's no longer just an opinion. It's not just one perspective. It's a matter of whether you accept it or not, okay? So, it's inevitable that in these 2020s, you're going to see a huge number of single, frustrated women who are increasingly depressed and anxious, waiting for the perfect life that will never come. Take care. See you next time.